What's poppin' YouTube? It's your boy the D here, the captain of the Thunder God Pirates. And you know what I feel like talking about today? No, it isn't big booty women, even though we like those girls with the fat posteriors. And you know we got some waifus over here, but no, what I feel like talking about today are devil fruits. Now, what is a devil fruit, you may ask? Well, within the world of One Piece, there are mysterious objects known as devil fruits. As the name implies, they are fruits which carry a mysterious secret. Whomsoever should take but a single bite of a devil fruit shall be granted a mysterious power. These powers run the gambit from the ability to breathe fire, causing tidal waves, or even becoming an animal straight out of a children's myth. And today, I've decided that from here on out, I'm going to chronicle the abilities, names, and general usages of devil fruits. Now, before we get started, I should explain a little bit about how devil fruits are classified. Up until this point in the story of One Piece, devil fruits have been split into three distinct categories: Paramecia, Zoan, Logia, or Logia, but I like saying Logia, it sounds cooler. But out of all of the devil fruits in the One Piece universe, each of them falls into one of these three categories. In this series, every installment, I'm going to choose one devil fruit. I'm going to break down its usages in the show, talk a little bit about its user. And speaking of that, there are going to be spoilers in these videos, at least for the most part, depending on where you are in the One Piece series. Now, some are going to be lighter than others, but if you have not read or watched One Piece, I would highly, highly, highly suggest that you take a moment, go ahead and watch or read it, and come back. Because, like I said, these videos are going to contain spoilers, ranging from, oh, this person does this, or this person is a thing, or even such as the devil fruit itself. You may be on chapter 1, and then I talk about a devil fruit that doesn't appear like chapter 50. Who knows? But that is just a friendly warning. But for now, let's go ahead and get started. In today's installment, we will be looking at a devil fruit from the Logia class. Before I move on to the fruit, I want to go ahead and explain what makes a Logia fruit different. Now, within the One Piece universe, Logia devil fruits are largely regarded, with very few exceptions, as the strongest types of devil fruit. Now, why is that? Because Logia, which loosely, I believe it comes from a Greek word logion, which roughly translates into power of nature. With the Logia class, you gain the power of an element: fire, lightning, or even lesser, quote-unquote, elements, rather natural forces, such as smoke, or even the power of mud, the swamp itself. Now, the reason why these abilities are regarded as so strong, it's not just in the fact that you can manipulate an element or produce an element, rather you can become it. Funny enough, the reason, at least from what I've observed, the reason why Logia class devil fruits are so powerful and are so well regarded and so coveted is not just because of their offensive capabilities, but their defensive capabilities. Once the user of a Logia class devil fruit has obtained sufficient control, they can reflexively transform into their element. For example, if the user of a Logia class devil fruit is shot, stabbed, kicked, punched, or receives any damage, they can actually let it pass through them. So, for instance, if there is a devil fruit user whose body is who ate the smoke fruit, they would be able to, well, I think it's called the plume fruit, but anyway, they would be able to allow the stab, the kick, the punch, the blade, the cannonball, the bomb explosion, or whatever to pass through them. Their body would disperse into said element, in this case smoke, and then they would be able to go ahead and their body would reform from the smoke. Now, granted, this particular ability is not invincible, because we have seen a Logia Devil Fruit user who has lost a limb. Now, with this class of Devil Fruit, they have the ability to reform their bodies, but if an attack, such as an attack imbued with Haki or Sea Prism Stone, is used against them, such as like a blade that's made of Sea Prism Stone, if their hand is cut off, they will not be able to regrow it. It will be lost forever, or unless a doctor can actually reattach it. So there's that. So yes, Logia type Devil Fruits are regarded for their supplementary and defensive skills rather than just offense. But believe me, this type of Devil Fruit is regarded as the strongest. So even though it's probably their supplemental skills and defensive skills that lend to why they're so coveted, believe me, their offensive skills are nothing to scoff at. Which brings us to today's subject, the Mera Mera no Mi, or as it's known in English, the Flame Fruit. This particular Devil Fruit, this Devil Fruit, it has two separate debuts. The power itself was debuted in chapter 158, episode 94 by the pirate Portgas the Ace, and the Devil Fruit itself was debuted in chapter 700, episode 629 of the One Piece anime. Now, its Japanese name, Mera Mera, it's named for the onomatopoeia of the sound of burning. A lot of all Devil Fruits, they follow a certain phonetic pattern in their naming schemes. Zushi Zushi, Mera Mera, Goro Goro, Gumu Gumu, Hana Hana. Some names like Hana Hana, Hana, which means flower, the flower fruit. They're just a short word with a few syllables, but rather, especially in the case of Logia, it's normally an onomatopoeia for said element. In this case, it's the sound of burning. Now, as the name implies, the flame fruit. This particular Devil Fruit allows its user to control, produce, and turn their body into fire for all types of reasons. This fruit was first shown to be used against Smoker in the Alabasta Kingdom. As he was attacking Monkey D. Luffy and his crew, Portgas the Ace used it to create a wall of fire to intercept Smoker. Now, this particular fruit, so far, we have seen its capabilities to be very much offensive, but yet again, as I've mentioned before, its defensive capabilities yet again allow Ace and whoever holds the particular fruit to reflexively transform their body into fire to escape damage, and even propel themselves through the sky. Now, Ace himself used this fruit to propel his own personal boat, Striker, through the seas whenever he would need to travel away from the Whitebeard pirates. This fruit, it wrote recently in the Ace light novel, which details Ace's initial run at piracy when he was the captain of the Spade Pirates, founding the Spade Pirates and adventuring with the Spade Pirates. It was in the first novel. I believe there are three novels. The first of the novels. It's here that we see that Ace discovered this fruit in the East Blue on a deserted island. I can't remember the name of the island. I'll probably put it up on screen if I can come to remember it. But yes, Ace discovered this particular fruit on the island with him and Mass Deuce. Now, the two gentlemen, they shared the fruit, but Ace was the first one to actually take a bite of it. And with the Devil Fruit, you don't have to eat the entire thing. You just have to take a single bite. And even though they both bit at the quote-unquote same time, Ace was just a little bit faster and he was able to gain the power. Has had 2 known users within the story of One Piece in the current storyline. The first being Portgas the Ace, the second being Sabo. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and talk about both characters as users. So I'm going to try to go ahead and keep away from some of their character spoilers, but there is one very big spoiler that I cannot avoid. So this is your warning. But yes, so first off is going to be Portgas the Ace. Now, we met Ace in the Goa Kingdom using the fruit. And as a power user, even though Ace had kind of like a... Let me see, how can I describe him? Ace, well, he was hot-headed and he had this fruit, so it kind of fit. But no, Ace had kind of a straightforward way of doing things. But, well, he had a straightforward way of doing things in his life. But funny enough, in regards to how he uses the flame fruit, it's actually, he has a touch of elegance to it. So even though you think he'd just be, just throwing flaming punches and, just beating shit in, which yet again he does, he did have a habit of coming up with some more nuanced techniques. But we'll talk about that more as we go through the techniques. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. I believe the first technique that we ever saw Ace use was called Heat Haze. This technique, he used it when we first see him in Alabasta as he's intercepting Smoker and the Marines. Pretty much with this technique, he unleashes a stream or multiple streams of fire in order to intercept Smoker. Not too much was seen of this technique, just that, he would have multiple streams of fire going to intercept his opponent. Now, in regards to how this technique could be used, I'm not sure if you could call it necessarily offensive or defensive. In the way it was used against Smoker, it was more defensive, but I think you could probably say it may be able to just be used offensively as well. Maybe maybe kind of like using the fire as like tendrils to catch an opponent. But without that knowledge, we'll never know. Because we only saw this technique once. The second technique, well, not the second technique, but the next technique is going to be Flame Fence or Blaze Net. Anyway, this particular technique, it was used during the flashback of showing part of Ace's journey when he was fighting Whitebeard directly, and he didn't think that he wanted to protect his crew from Whitebeard's onslaught. And funny enough, I'm wondering why they didn't just go with Firewall. I mean, this is obviously like a defensive technique, to keep things out, to block attacks, shit like that. But this was like Firewall was all over. I think when I was originally watching the fan subs on the internet, somebody did call it Firewall. So I'm like, okay, Firewall. Then I've heard the dub for the first time, Flame Fence. I'm like, the fuck is this? The fuck type of shit is this? But anyway, next we have a technique that was shown off a little later. Well, during his fight against Blackbeard, and this technique is really funny because prior to this technique being used, he was attacked by Von Augur of the Blackbeard Pirates, who uses a rifle. Shot Ace 3 times, to which Ace just let them pass through. Then in retaliation, Ace used Fire Gun, to where he pretty much made a gun with his fingers. You know how to make one with your middle finger straight, with your middle finger and index finger straight. And he used that with both hands, and he was able to shoot bullets of fire, of compressed fire, at Von Augur, which Von Augur was able to dodge. But I just find this funny. He's like, okay, so you're going to try to shoot me, a Logia, with non-sea prism bullets. You know what? Let me show your ass. So yeah, this one is like whenever I think of this one, it's always kind of funny because I think Ace may have had that technique in the tuck before that, but something just tells me he was like, you know what? Since you want to play this game with me, let me show you why you don't fuck with the 2nd Division commander of the Whitebeard Pirates. It was able to get him the fuck out of here. All right, the next techniques. Well, I say techniques because they're kind of interchangeable. Well, not interchangeable. They're kind of connected. It's Flame Commandment and then Fire Pillar. Now, with this, Ace had done... Now, this was done... not in the same breath, but in the same instance. Right after he was attacked by Von Augur, he was also attacked by Jesus Burgess, who picked up a literal building and threw it at Ace. And Ace used the Flame Commandment. What he does, he waves his hand in front of his body, saying Flame Commandment and summoning flames building beneath him. And then what he would do for this technique, he would crouch down and, call his technique Fire Pillar, to which a tower of fire would erupt from his back, shooting straight up. Of course, most likely destroying whatever was coming at him. In this case, it was a building. Now, the reason I say he'd never done this before is because whenever we saw Ace attack previously, whether it be his signature move or any of the other times that we any of the other times we see him attack before and after this, he's never done that. So I'm like, I wonder why he would do something like that at that point. It'd be different if he did that every time he attacked. But in this case, he only did it before using Fire Pillar. He never did it again. Not when using St. Elmo's Fire, not when using Firefly or anything else. He simply only used it for that. So I don't know if maybe there was a benefit to that or not, but he did. Okay, and then we have another couple of techniques that are intrinsically tied to each other. The first being Firefly. Now, this is this is probably the best example that I can use for saying that Ace's use of the fruit was a little more elegant. First, he holds his hands out, uses the attack name Firefly, to which, and this is weird because I want to know, because I don't think anybody ever mentions it, because in the anime when this was used, the fire that came out of Ace's hands was green. So, but nobody ever says, anything about the fire's green or anything like that. So I'm like, is it truly green fire, or was that just like an effect that was being used? But anyway, and a bunch of balls that actually resemble fireflies. I grew up in the South, and I live in the South, so I remember fireflies, going out catching them in jars, all that type of shit. So I can tell you that this actually does look like fireflies. And he spreads them around his opponent, this time being Blackbeard himself. And as the opponent is mesmerized by the attack, Ace will then call his attack Fiery Doll, to which all of the firefly-like little flames will then burst, incinerating the opponent, if they're normal. As we know, Blackbeard's a weird motherfucker, so he wasn't incinerated. The next, St. Elmo's Fire. This technique, yet again, I guess you could say it's kind of elegant, but also at the same time, kind of not. What will happen is Ace will make lances out of fire and then chuck them at his opponent. This time, yet again, being Blackbeard. As he's being pulled forward, he uses St. Elmo's Fire in order to impale Blackbeard, make him into the lance in each hand, impales him with him. Yet again, with a normal opponent, that probably ended. But yet again, Blackbeard being the weird person that he is. Next is going to be Crossfire. Crossfire. Hold up. Yes. Crossfire, it's a pretty simple technique. It's a blast of fire that comes from his hands. What Ace will do, he will take both of his index fingers, make a cross shape, and then he will expel a jet of fire in a cross shape directly at the opponent. Yet again, not really too much to it, but just a little something. Now, next is going to be Ace's, probably his most powerful technique. It's going to be Great Flame Commandment. Flame Emperor. This one, yet again, he uses the Flame Commandment. I think it's the only other technique that actually requires it. He uses the Flame Commandment to summon fire. It's like pretty much he summons fire on the ground beneath him, and then he will pick up a giant fireball, which is very reminiscent of the sun, and he will then proceed to smack his opponent with it. Now, the only thing about this technique is that because of the nature of the fight in which it was used, and it was used at the end, and the ending wasn't shown to keep it ambiguous. This technique, the aftermath wasn't shown, so it seems to be a very powerful technique. And with Ace being as powerful as he was, and this being probably his most powerful technique, we can only guess that this technique, its application is definitely devastating. And next we have Flame Mirror, or Mirror Flame. We have Flame Mirror. This was used at the Battle of Marineford against Admiral Aokiji. The Admiral had sent an ice attack, pretty much a blue pheasant, a flame bird, well, not a flame bird, goodness, an ice bird at Ace. And Ace used this attack, which creates a wall of fire to block the attack. It's kind of like Flame Fence, except it's not used to keep anything out. It's necessarily used to block attacks. Yes. And then and last but not least, we have Ace's signature technique. As it's known in Japanese, Hiken, Fire Fist, which also lends itself to Ace's nickname. He was Fire Fist Ace. Now this technique is as blunt as you could be. He turns his fist in the fire and then throws a straight punch, to which a torrent of flame will come out of his fist and destroy whatever's in its path. Now, this technique was used a few times. Now, the time that I can most accurately remember this technique is when he was engaged with the Billions in Alabasta. This is before I started reading the One Piece manga. So if this was a filler, excuse me, but when the Billions were attacking them on the ships, when Ace wanted to take them on himself, he actually used this technique to destroy the Billion ships. Not only that, but in the beginning of the fight with Blackbeard, after dispatching both Burgess and Von Augur, he used this to attack Blackbeard, which it did a lot of damage. And even then, it was able, and it should be said, that Ace's control of his fire was quite fine, because I believe he used this technique, no bullshit, to cut a house in half. Not like when we cut it, but he punched through it. But the house itself didn't explode or anything. It caught fire, but it wasn't immediately destroyed. The frame of the house, for the most part, was still intact. So it's like he punched through the house, but on the extreme ends of the house, it was still standing. But those are all of Ace's techniques. Now, in regards to Ace as a user, he was known to use his power quite wisely, honestly. It seems that before we saw him, he was known for setting a town on fire, I believe, and any enemy ships on fire as well. Also, in conjunction with his boat, which he built to escape Sixus, the island where the Merman no Mi was found, the Striker, he was able to use his flames to propel. Because yet again, in that scene where he used the flame fist to destroy the Billions, when he hopped over the ships, which Ace himself had monstrous strength, so him jumping like that was probably all him. But he jumped, and in order to jump across all 4 or 5 of the ships, he actually turned his legs in the fire to kind of propel himself a little, so he could actually clear them. And also using the Striker was powered by his devil fruit. He was no stranger to using his own devil fruit as a way to use its powers of propulsion. And being as strong as he was, I have a theory that Ace was almost awakened, if not completely awakened. Now, what leads me to say this is we get a flashback at the end of the Drum Island arc after they got Chopper. When the men who, when they go to Dalton saying that they had a message for Straw Hat, they said that it happened about a week ago. There was a day where it did not rain. Didn't rain, good lord. Where it didn't snow for a whole day, and that was the day that Ace was there. As we know, Devil Fruit Awakenings are ways that the Devil Fruits themselves can affect, their surroundings. We've seen this with the Clank Clank fruit that we've seen in One Piece movie Stampede. Doflamingo use his String fruit. Now, Zoan Awakenings are different, but I believe that Logias are a little more similar to the Paramecias, as we can see from the battle on Punk Hazard. Now, I believe that Ace was almost awakened due to his fruit, due to his strength with his fruit, affecting the climate zone of Drum Island. Now, there's no way to prove that, but I do very strongly believe that Ace was almost an awakened Devil Fruit user. And who knows, if he'd had that awakened power, he might have been able to beat Blackbeard. Now, as I said, Ace was not the only user of the Mary no Mi that we saw. The second after him was Sabo. Now, yet again, if you listen to the spoiler warning, this ain't spoiler to you, or you might have left. Anyway, after Ace's passing, he was succeeded by Sabo, who ate the fruit after him, after he reincarnated. And Sabo had one unique technique. Now, he did use the flame fruit, the fire fist, as his as one of his techniques. But that was kind of to honor his brother Ace. Now, he did have one truly unique Devil Fruit move. Now, just a little background on Sabo. Sabo, we haven't seen too much of him with the fruit, being that as he was using it, he'd only just eaten it probably like an hour or so prior to using it. So we saw him use the fire fist immediately after eating it, and then even then, he was still dodging attacks when he didn't have to. Now, when we see Ace do as the fruits user, he wouldn't really dodge. He just let things pass through, but Sabo was still getting used to it. So we can't say much, at least thus far. Chapter 1000 hasn't come out yet, so that's kind of dating. I think that's next week. Yes, that's actually going to be this upcoming Sunday. Kind of dating this video. But yeah, so as of now, the last week of 2020, the last couple of days of 2020, we haven't seen anything past the Dressrosa arc for Sabo using his fruit. But yes, so Sabo is a master of the Dragon Claw Fist style of martial arts that was taught by Monkey D. Dragon. And after eating the fruit, he mixed this to create the Burning Claw Fist Flame Dragon King. With this, he forms his hand into the Dragon Claw like he always does for his moves, grabs the opponent. This was used against Jesus Burgess in Dressrosa after he tried to steal the fruit, and then talk shit about Ace's death. Then he will push and twist while he's emitting fire to set his opponent on fire and also send them forward spinning. But yes, those are the users, and I believe that the Flame Fruit is one of, I believe, 3 fruits that we know of. Well, 4 fruits that we know of during the concept of the story, including flashbacks and everything, that we've seen that, okay, is switched users. But next I'm going to talk about the Devil Fruit in and of itself, like some strengths, some weaknesses. Now, as far as strengths, like I said, it has a standard Logia of strengths and weaknesses. Well, strengths. It can create, manipulate, and control fire. One of these examples being, like earlier, I mentioned how Ace pretty much cut a house in half using a fire fist. After that, he jumped off the building that he was on, and then he proceeded to take the flames that were on the house and use them as a path. So he pretty much, while he was walking through the rubble, he had the flames gather at his feet to nullify them. Which, honestly, was just badass. He just slapped shit at Blackbeard with a fire fist. And then he does some shit like that. If I could put that shit on screen, I will. But, man, that shit was hard. Let me see. But yes, like I said, any of his attacks, he just creates flames out of nowhere. So, and then this attack, as we can see with Sabo, this fruit, as we can see with Sabo, can augment, your fighting style in and of itself. to where, he would use the Dragon Claw Fist. He was able to add fire to it and make it even more devastating, adding a burning effect to the crushing and breaking power of his fists as well. Now, this fruit does have some weaknesses. All right. Now, with the Logias, and I think I should go ahead and say this for Logia in general. Now, with the Logia, all that power does come with some drawbacks. Pretty much nature. Now, there are some Logia devil fruits that are bound by nature. No matter what happens, certain laws of nature cannot be unbent. In this case, I'd say that, hold on. In this case, because I'm not going to talk about any of the devil fruits, I'll just talk about them in their own videos. That's what I was going to do. But I'll just cut that out. But yeah, when Ace was at Marineford, he was burned, yet again, him being a man made of fire, was burned by the magma fruit owned by, at the time, Admiral Akainu. Now, I believe in real life, flames can get hotter than magma, but that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about in the context of the story. Because even then, I believe, every normal person thinks that magma is hotter than fire. That's just the way it goes. But anyway, so it was here that he was burned, and it's here we learn a weakness of devil fruits. If a Logia fruit user comes across an element to which they have a inferior matchup, they can't let it pass through, and they can be harmed. So even though, in this case, Ace was a fire type Logia user, because the magma fruit is of a higher grade of quote unquote fire heat based devil fruit, he was burned. And yet again, like I said, he couldn't even let it pass through him either, due to the fact that Akainu was he had a superior devil fruit. Oh, good lord. But yes, so that's one. And then this fruit also has checks as well. When it came up against Smoker's devil fruit in Alabasta, it was noted that a battle between smoke and fire will never end, because smoke can't burn, at least not that I know of. So even though Ace's flames were coming in direct contact with Smoker's smoke, why would they name that man Smoker? Yes, even though his flames were making direct contact with Smoker's smoke, he couldn't burn him. It was impossible. It was like, okay, you just can't. Like, they even stated that battle was going to go on forever until somebody either used hockey or something, and, that's how it's going to end. Also, Ice. When he was fighting Aokiji at Marineford, their attacks ended in stalemates instead of fire, which should overcome ice. Yet again, I think that he should have been able to hurt Aokiji, like, really bad, like, should have been super effective. But hey, whatever. But beyond that, at least for the time being, like I said, so with Sabo being a new holder and him still being alive, at least I believe he's still alive. I haven't seen chapter 1000. The spoilers are out, but I'm not looking at them. But anyway, but yes, with that being said, we don't know of any other natural weaknesses for the flame fruit. Now, they do, however, have the standard set of devil weaknesses, being 1. Sea Prism Stone. If a user of the flame fruit comes in contact with Sea Prism Stone, they become unable to use their powers. B. Weakness of the sea. If a user of the flame fruit comes into contact with water that comes up to at least knee length, they will become unable to move, and they will in turn drown because they can no longer swim. But alright, ladies and gentlemen, that has been this week's episode of the Ultimate Devil Fruit Guide. And what did you think? What do you think about the flame fruit? Is it your favorite fruit? Is it your least favorite fruit? How do you feel about the users? Definitely, if you like what you heard, like, comment, subscribe. Let's continue this discussion in the comments. Like, what would you like to see in this series? What devil fruit are you most looking forward to? Because I'm trying to go through all of them. Like I said, this is the ultimate devil fruit guide, and it wouldn't be the ultimate devil fruit guide if I did not go through all of the devil fruits. And without further ado, this is going to be your boy, the D20, signing out. See ya.